And it's that sort of let's disrupt the rhythm thing. They've got a man up the front. There is De Ghent. And there is Roy. Francis de Jeu and Vacansoleil respect are the two teams there that have got up to the front of the peloton, just mixing it up with the chasers, and that keeps that gap open a little bit. 8.5 kilometres to go, 30 seconds. This is exciting. Oh, I love being back on the air with this race. How good is that? I must make a quick mention for poor old Paul Whips, the producer back in the studio, because he produced some really lovely packages which we're going to get at the top of the programme, which I'm sure we will see as the week and the season progress. But the alpine ski overran just a little bit, so they still had jumpers going, so sorry, the ski jumping was still going, so we managed not to get them. I'm sure he'll bring them to him, and I'm sure he looked resplendent yesterday as I rang him late last night just to check about today's packages, and he was off to a fancy dress party dressed as Fred Flintstone. This is what we get up to in our spare time at Eurosport. So keep the packages on the back burner there, Paul. We'll see them later on. Quick step now, getting to the front, pulling along. Steegmans is the man they want to get towards the front. Still 30 seconds of a gap for these three men, and the terrain is not playing into the hands of the chasers either. Come on, lads, dig in. You've got a real chance now, a real chance. Still the best parts, the thick end of 30 seconds with well under 10 kilometres to go, and Roy especially, I think, is a bit of a danger man in this situation. De Ghent may be the better sprinter, Sean, but Roy, if he's just hanging back here a little bit, he might try and go off the front.
Well, I think they can't start attacking. They have to, just keep on working together. And if you're a little bit in difficulty, you just knock it back a bit and skip a turn, keep a pull on the front. And the problem is with that, when you have one rider like Jeremy Roy, if he's going to do that, the other ones will start looking around and they'll say, well, is he sparing a little bit for the sprint? And the other ones start making that calculation then, and that's where all three can lose out big time because they get swallowed up in that final kilometres. But back in the bunch we can see the quick step. I think it was Pinot, Jérôme Pinot was taking it up there, and fresh legs. And if you get two or three riders who haven't been to the front at all on the main bunch, and there's a lot of them in there from the sprinters teams, they can really turn it on in this final 6 kilometres. And the advantage just over the 20 seconds, it could come down very quickly, and especially if they do not continue to work real well, our three leaders out front.
Movie star moving over. Tony Martin getting to the front. Well, he's a man who really can shut the gap down if he wants to. They're working for Matt Goss. He's on the left-hand side. You can see Goss in the white jersey, white helmet and white framed glasses. Now another man from HTC, Lars Bak, comes into the attack. They're going to try and shut this down, but again, it's the terrain that's not playing. They wanted to get to that corner first. Make sure they can get round safely. It's Lars Bak, followed by Tony Martin, and Matt Goss is already up towards the front, keeping himself out of trouble. Less than 6.5 kilometres to go. Our three breakaway riders are Thomas de Ghent from Vacansoleil in the blue and yellow, Jens Vogt at the back here in the Team Leopard kit, and on the right-hand side in the white with the royal blue shorts are Francis de Jeu and Jérémy Roy. 20 seconds now, the gap. Well, De Ghent's absolutely burying himself here. He flicks the elbow for Jens Vogt to come through. Well, it looked really good for them for a while. Now it's looking a little bit less good in this open terrain, until they turn into the suburbs of Audin again. It's a bit of terrain that they could really get their lead chopped down.
Yes, well, at this section here, as we can see, very, very much an open, straight section, and that's where our three leaders are going to suffer. And depending on back in the bunch, how many are going to contribute to the pace pulling. And we can see, the HTC are just coming to the fore, as we can see some of the quick step. And I think the gap is going to come down this final 5 kilometres. It looks highly unlikely that they can hold on our three leaders now.
Yeah, look look at the gaps that have started to be created as HTC get onto the front and start pulling as well. Jens is still giving it everything he's got. 5.3 kilometers to go, 20 seconds of a gap. A brave attempt. They're looking over the shoulders to see where they are. And back down the road, it's HTC High Road who have put the pressure on, and they've split the field. There's little bicycle gaps appearing everywhere now, Sean.
Yes, and you know, that is the real indication of how fast it's going, because you know, a big road, you know, very open, but there's certainly a lot of side wind there. And as we can see, you know, the team riding in the front, they're riding over to the left-hand side or right-hand side of the screen. But for the riders, you know, they keep to the left and they just allow enough space to cover their own men. And as we can see back further in the bunch, the group is, you know, out at the far side of the road trying to make another echelon, and that's when everybody just is on the limit.
They really are on the limit. Some of the big favourites still nestling in the pack. I can see Jérôme Pinault seems to be just ahead of Sylvain Chavanel. I don't see a Steegmans anywhere at the moment. Still a way to go. Oh, that's a big effort by Lars back here. And they've still got 20 seconds, Sean. I thought that would be coming down. I really thought that would have come down further.
And it looked very much it was going to come down, because we could see you know, quite a few of Tony Martin was up there. We could see some of the guys from the quick step, and I was expecting, you know, it's 4 or 5, 6 riders maybe to start working together. But as we can see, they're just the one rider at the moment on the front, and the gap is, they're hanging out real well there.
Oh, it's looking very touch and go. I've got to say, I'm going to go with the breakaway at the moment. Doesn't seem to be any organisation here at the front now. Linus Gerdemann on the far right-hand side for Team Leopard, the nodding head going side to side. Now Tony Martin coming through towards the front again. Three kilometers to go, and Jens Vogt gets to the front with Jeremy Roy on his wheel once more. 20 seconds only is the gap, but I don't think they've got the organisation behind at the moment, Sean. It just doesn't look like it.
No, the last pictures we have of the front of the bunch, it doesn't seem that there's a lot of riders, you know, organised here. The quick step are starting to do it now, but you know, it should have been, you know, at the 5 kilometres to go, they should have, you know, come to the front with, as I said, at least 2 riders. Is it too late? That is the question. But this final run up, this, you know, the final 500 or 600 metres, a difficult run in, and but if our time at the moment 20 seconds, it's looking good for our 3 leaders.
It is. Just a shade over 2 kilometers to go. We're looking up the road. There they are. There they are. Doesn't matter. It looks a long, looks not too far from the helicopter, but it's an awful long way to still close down. They've got them in their sights, but with less than 2 kilometers to go. I'm not sure they're going to catch them, and if they do, it's going to be right on the line. Hey. Oh, I can't stop. I love it when do you know that feeling when a race makes you just chuckle? Because it is so exciting. I love it.
18 seconds. So if that is the case, and you know, when you look at our shot there, it looks like that they're much closer up at the front end of the bunch. But again, this final run-in, this is going to be the real test now, because it does drag up from this point at the kilometre. It's another little bit of a flat section, and then it drags up very slowly. So it depends on how well the teams can prepare, but you need a very big, strong team to, you know, really take it up at the kilometre at a very fast rate if they're going to pull back in these 3 leaders.
Under the 1 kilometre to go banner, the Flamme Rouge, 3 men are out ahead. Jens Vogt, Thomas de Gent and Jeremy Roy. Oh, it's what, about 10 seconds, I think, is the gap, with Tony Martin on the front of HTC High Road. And now Geraint Thomas of Sky takes up the challenge. Heinrich Hausler is lurking in there as well, a little bit further back for Carmen Cervelo. They've got to ride as far and as fast as they can. They can't keep looking at each other. Jeremy Roy just eases off the pedals. They can't do that. They've got to keep going. Jens knows it. Thomas de Gent knows it. There's the 3 men. Somebody's taking a flyer off the front. Is it Thomas? Is that Geraint? It is! It's Geraint Thomas who's taking a flyer off the front, trying to track them down. Are these 3 men going to be caught? De Gent goes on the far left-hand side in your shot, in the dark blue and yellow of Vacances Soleil. Roy tries to take him. De Gent's going to get this one. They're closing in. De Gent gets the win. Oh, that's a great win for Vacances Soleil. Brilliant stuff. Jeremy Roy hangs his head. He doesn't get it, and the peloton miss out. They cannot catch the breakaway. There's a lot of nodding heads and shaking of shoulders, but they didn't manage to get it. That's a great start to the Paris-Nice race. Thomas de Gendt started his career with Unibet as an amateur rider many, what, 6 or 7 years ago now. Thomas de Gendt takes the biggest win of his career. A stage here in Paris-Nice, and in real style. And as Sean predicted, he has the best sprint of the three. He leapt onto the wheel of Jeremy Roy when he did the breakaway. And I've got to say that Jeremy Roy and Jens Vogt were well beaten in the end. And who came in through for third? Was it Hausler, I think, gets third spot. Yep. And Peter Sagan in fourth, possibly. That was a great win for de Gendt, Sean. Very good.
Yes, and you know, what a final. An amazing performance by our three out front, because you know, they were going at a very fast rate, but I think a few of the teams just caught maybe playing it, you know, calculating a bit too tight, and worked out for the three leaders. And you know, what a threesome we had up there. The way they performed in the last 30 kilometres, chapeau. And you know, Thomas de Gendt, surprisingly, he had that bit extra, and he was really he was, you know, really the strongest of the three in the end.
Yep, he was definitely, well, he was a man who saw the opportunity and went with it. Thomas de Gendt, what is he now, 24.5? 2000, just trying to work out how old he is. 25, I think now, de Gendt, and the Belgian. And that was a great run. Great run in. But he had two very, very strong men with him. There's no, you couldn't, I don't think he'd have had quite as good a chance if he had maybe two slightly less strong riders with him, Sean. He had the perfect breakaway companions.
Yes, well, you know, they were really in top shape. Really put in a great performance, all three, and you know, they contributed real well. You had nobody there. Roy was maybe just a little bit slackening off in that final 8 or 10 kilometres, but I think also, you know, he was starting to feel the pressure. And you know, with Jens Voigt, it's always great to be in a breakaway with him, because you know he will give it 100%, and he certainly did that today. And de Gendt also, you know, you have to hand it to him, probably not known as such a strong rider, you know, quite a good sprinter, but really, you know, put in a great performance there today.